This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Yo, watching the final round of the Queens right now is on Bowl TV. The last four women bowling for, I believe it's 3 spots for the show tomorrow.
Well, who's already on?
Kelly Kulick,
Oh, I'm in. Sold. I'm watching that show.
OG Kelly Kulick, and not Verity Crowley, sorry. Hope Grammarly is the number 1 seed.
Okay.
And then the final 4 that are bowling right now are Felicia Wong, who I believe is a Canadian, Team Canada, I believe.
Okay.
Jillian Martin, Jillian Martin is hot right now.
I'm trying to make the show.
She's in a good spot right now.
Wow.
She's bowled 268 her first game.
Major show. Wow.
Lindsay Boomershine.
Okay. Did
And
she win last year?
She did. She's defending champion.
She's defending champ. Okay.
And the last person I don't know, but I don't know her first name. Sin. Jay Sin. I don't know her first name. So yeah, it's interesting. I believe they're bowling 3 games, and then 3 out of the 4 get to the show.
Who don't love some match play? Men, women, whatever. Who don't love some 3-game total wood match play?
I got a chance to watch a bunch of it today because I was working from home because I'm working from home this week.
Any highlights?
Oh man, some absolute disaster finishes. The one that stuck out to me the most was Verity Crowley was bowling Shannon Pluhowski in the winners bracket, and Verity needed a 9 to win, and she left a 4-9 to lose by a pin to Pluhowski, which was just a disaster. Like, it was just like everybody was shook in the chat room. No one could believe it. There was a match with Taylor Boutis. I don't know, want to say it wrong. And last name is Chang. I'm not sure her first name. And Chang needed to make a 10-pin to win, and she missed it left. And she just completely missed it to lose. That was in the winner's bracket, I believe, as well. There was a couple of finishes that you were just like another 4-9. It was a wild couple matches. Yeah, it was real awesome to watch. I think this is the first year I've had an actually chance to be home to watch some of the match play, and it's great. That's just one of those things where it's just like you don't get a chance to watch, and when you do, you're like, man, I wish I could see the women bowl these majors all the time. So it's cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Better if you could bet on it.
Dude, that might be down the road. I know it's some states, Bet Rivers is allowing PWBA. So I hit him up on Twitter. I was just like, yo, Bet Rivers, what's good, man? Get us some betting action in Arizona and New Jersey. And Bet Rivers hit me up, man. They DM me, and they're like, yo, we put a ticket in to get Arizona, New Jersey, PWBA on you guys' tickets. I'm like, let's go. So, you know, hopefully we can get that soon because there's a bunch of women tournaments left for the PWBA.
I would have loved, Masters, like I said, with the PBA, it was the best betting bowling experience ever. I would have loved to have been able to bet this Masters for the women. That sounds even juicier to me, honestly. So, yeah, I'll definitely be checking the stepladder. When is it?
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time. They're bowling in Green Bay on CBS Sports.
Okay. I'll well, whether I'm watching that live or I catch it after, I'll definitely make sure I have that set up to record and catch that. Good luck to all the people that make the finals. But who doesn't love seeing Kelly Kulick back
OG.
in the finals? Like, to me, and I know a lot of people disagree with this take because of Liz Johnson, but just to me, in my viewpoint, Kelly Kulick's the GOAT of female bowlers.
Ooh.
You know, she
That's a hot
is.
take.
You take her college career, you take some of the absolutely legendary stories that you've heard about her. The fact that she won a men's major and beat Barnes to do it, like that is just some absolutely legendary stuff. So I got to give her the nod as the GOAT of female bowlers, and I'm definitely influenced, and I'm sure Liz Johnson was a beast in college bowling too, but but Kelly Kulick was like on a god level in college bowling. Like it was just it was unbelievable to watch.
She put Moorhead on the map for women's bowling.
I mean, and
She did.
honestly, like beat guys at a lot of the events, like total pins for however many games we bowled. And then I remember one year at the Buddy Tierno Classic at Laurel Lanes, they had a thing where if you were in the top, like you probably remember this, if you were in the top 16 from the men or the women, they paired you up and you bowled doubles, right? Like 16 doubles teams. And I made it one year. I think it might have been my freshman year, sophomore year. Because that tournament changed. Like Buddy Tierno stopped running it and they stopped doing that piece of the event. But she was in it. And Rob, when I'm telling you we were bowling on burn, like burn, like people don't understand today, like Wood Lane's burn after college bowling, 5 people on a team, 5-game, 6-game block, and she goes 279, 300. I mean, no one could shoot 220, and she goes 279, 300. That her doing that may have been, I mean, even to this day, is like one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in person in bowling. Like my mind was blown. I was like, my goodness, like that is just insane. So yeah, it's nice to see her there. I'd love to see her get it done.
I would
No
recommend
hate to the other women, on the show, but I mean, it's like when Pete makes a show, like you just want to see Pete make the final and get it done.
I would recommend listening to our interview with Kelly when we did it back a while back. I want to say it was probably like around last year, maybe, or
Yep.
And we talked about a lot of the stuff that I don't want to really go through again. But yeah, the PWBA like going under in
Yep.
her prime is a lot of reasons why she doesn't have a lot of the GOAT accomplishments. Or you could I'm talking about like PWBA titles and that stat specifically, right? Like she would probably have been running them over back then in her prime for a while. Shannon also Pluhowski too. You could kind of make that argument for as well. So yeah, we'll talk more women's bowling as the tour goes on and the men's kind of is now coming to an end. But I do really want to talk real quick about what's going on at the Queens right now. Jillian Martin has set herself pretty good. I do want to say how good Jillian Martin is throwing the ball right now compared to last time I've seen her actually bowl. You can tell she's been working really hard. She has, top-notch college program now she's bowling for. And I just wanted to throw a shout out. Like I'm watching her throw the ball now, and it's like, holy moly, like Jillian is really, really like throwing the ball super good right now. So I'm rooting for her to get on the show. I think she brings some, you have like Jillian the youth, and you have Kelly
Future GOAT.
Hope too, like Grammarly is like the future youth. So you have Jillian, Hope, and then you'd have Kelly in the middle of it, right? Like, and Lindsay.
Let me school these young girls.
Yeah. Oh, quiet guy, Cinley Jane. Sorry, I didn't know Sin's first name. Won the last term in Rockford, so she's riding a hot hand right now too.
Quiet guy, your name fits you. First time we ever heard from you. Welcome to the chat.
The quiet guy coming in with a loud a big bang. So right now it looks like Felicia Wong is throwing a big game, 250. But I'll talk more as it wraps up. But it's going to go down to the third game to get that last spot. The
A
last
lot
three
of people
definitely.
in the chat throwing out ladies goats. If you want to give your thought about who the ladies goat is in the chat, hit us up. I'd like to
Yeah,
see some more thoughts.
I'm still on the Liz Johnson. That's still my that's to me.
It's a choice I can't argue with, Rob.
I know.
You know.
That would be
But
mine.
can
Even though I'm a huge Kelly fan, right? Like
can the
she's a
same
good
be
friend of mine.
said about Kelly Kulik? Like
Mhm.
it's not something you can really argue all that vehemently, you know.
Mm.
Kev, what's good?
Kevin,
Glad we could bring you some entertainment.
look, I'll never say anything about Emil, dude. I love Emil. I like what Emil does. And I do have to say, Ben, when I watched today, has gotten better. He's definitely toned it down a little bit. And
At least he's
I
trying.
was listening to it tonight or today, and I didn't really have a lot of bad things to say about Ben Davis. So shouts to Emil though, because Emil is definitely carrying it, and rightfully so, right? He's the vet in the booth and been doing it for a while.
Yeah, we got to
Wendy McPherson, huh?
we got to get him on. Charlie Tapp says Wendy McPherson is his women's goat. Larry
CDB
says
the goat.
CDB. Tony says Alita Sill. I watched a lot of Alita Sill back in the day on
How about
ESPN2.
Tish Johnson being the most polarizing woman?
Tish Johnson was honestly, I used to try and throw it like Tish Johnson. That's how good Tish Johnson threw it. There were two lefties I used to try and throw it like Mike Albee and Tish Johnson. Okay. Tish Johnson, her game was just chef's kiss. Like, oh my God, I can't. Some people say Lisa Wagner. That's another really good name.
Talk about whenever I think Lisa Wagner, I think of the Black Rhino. Whenever I saw her blowing on TV, she was using a Black Rhino, kind of like how Mark Roth put the Black Rhino.
Mark Zanke, yo, this guy's got us going off the rails. He said, for the people that aren't live with us, he said in the chat, Tish Johnson riding in on her horse on the intros. Where's Jimmy from the Ringing 10? Dig that up. We need that pronto stat on Twitter, on X. Oh my God. And we wonder why bowling's in the position that it's in. Jesus, it's ridiculous. But okay, all right.
Yeah, they're finishing up game 2. So after they finish the game 2, I'll give everybody an update on the numbers. If you're not watching the Bowl TV stream right now for the Queens,
I'll be honest. I haven't. Well, I'm up to my neck in nonsense over here. But anyway, I'll be honest. I did not watch a single shot of the Queens this week. Or over the weekend.
I got us both covered.
Didn't have the time. Definitely wasn't tapped into that. I didn't even get to watch the PBA Playoff Final show live. I had to catch that last night recorded. So, all right. So let's move on, Robin. We can come back and touch on the Queens and what's going on there since you have it pulled up. League review. I bowled league last week. I took off for a couple weeks because there were soccer games and other things to attend to. But I bowled league last week, and I won the scratch pot. Finally. Second time for the year that I won the scratch pot. Really, because some people didn't show up is why I won the scratch pot. I'll be honest. I only shot 580, but they were brutally tough, and I started out. Split, double, split was my first game. And then I shot 165-ish the first game. And then maybe 170. And then I went like 209, won the handicap pot, won the doubles pot. Then 201, did not win the handicap pot or the doubles. I came in second. No, I did win the doubles pot that last game. Also won the card game the last game, pulling a jack on the very last card, which was nice to get some luck. And there were a couple big games the last game, won by Steph, who's a regular there. And, there were a couple big games. But so I didn't win the high game pot, that pot handicap, but I did squeak out the scratch pot with 576, I think. And I'm not going to lie, I was bragging about it. I said to people, you really let me win the scratch pot with 576? There's regional titleist bowling this sport league, sport pot thing that we run. Regional titleist. And they let me win the scratch pot with 576, Rob. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. All right, let me go through the scores real quick for the Queens. They're just finished the second game. Jillian Martin, 478. Felicia Wong, 459. Lindsay Boomershine, 418. And I already forgot her name. Was it Jinlin San or Jinlin Sin? 401.
Okay.
So yeah, it's looks like
Two people for one spot, right? Top two look
people.
locked in unless a disaster happens.
Yeah,
And the
Jillian
bottom
Martin.
two look like they're battling for that last spot.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a Lindsay Boomershine versus JC for the last spot, and Lindsay's got 15 pins, unless there's a disaster happening with Jillian or Felicia this game.
Yeah, so Nico's asking in the chat, am I doing a summer league on the China, and if so, what night? I am bowling a summer league. I'm gonna say it's on the China. I think there's like a Kegel pattern that they put out, but it is like a recreation pattern from Kegel. I forget what the name of it is. It's all Monday nights, so we'll probably be going with Sunday nights. I would imagine for the podcast for the summer. Rob and I haven't discussed that. Maybe we'll switch it up once in a while. But yeah, I'm bowling on Monday nights. We're actually bowling. So there's 50 some teams in this league that I'm bowling. It's a 3-person league. There's 50 some teams. We're bowling with 4 people that are splitting the envelope. And, we're just going to rotate in and out based on who can make it and who can't. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I start, I think, June 3rd, the week after. Not this month, obviously, not this Monday coming up to Memorial Day, but the following Monday, I believe, I start. And the school year, Nico, is over on June 25th, I believe. Whatever that Monday is, that's my last day. And I leave for Florida that day. I'm out. We're going to Florida for a dance competition that very day. I think we're leaving later that afternoon. So I'm out of here right away. Going to take a little vacation, get away for a week, and then come back and resume Summer League. So that's where we're at. I also may try and sub a few times in the sport league that I bowled last year. It's not that I didn't want to bowl that league. It's that I have a friend who wants to bowl with me. And yeah, he wants to bowl as a team, and the sport league is a singles thing. And quite frankly, he's not ready to bowl on sport. As a lot of people aren't. I as I've said before, I definitely think that there's a place for house shots, for people to get started and build confidence. He's not really ready for the sports stuff just yet. So yeah, we're gonna bowl this league on an easier pattern. I could do it for a matter of 12 weeks or so. That doesn't get to me too much, but 36 weeks, is a long commitment for that. Jeff's asking where in Florida. We're going to Orlando, Jeff. I'm not staying at Disney. I'm staying at a resort in Orlando, and then we're doing Disney and we're doing Universal, and we have a bunch of dance stuff going on. So
I got a little bowling story to tell this weekend. That
all right. Did you bowl again?
I did.
Okay.
I'm slowly getting there. It was like two or three games, but my knee hurt on one shot and started to hurt even more as I was bowling. So that's just getting old. That's just old aches and pains, But so I went there with my mom. My mom brought her bowling ball. My mom's staying with me this week here, helping me take care of my dog who's recovering from surgery. So I was like, Mom, bring your bowling ball. She bowls the league. She averages like 120. She needs some pointers. So we go to the bowling center and she brings her balls and I'm bowling a little bit and I'm helping her. Keep in mind, we walk into Bolero at like 2:00 on a Sunday. There's really nobody there. There's 40 lane center or whatever it is. So it's a big center. So they have like 10 pairs of global with like maybe all the little kids. And then the rest of it's regular open play. So I say to the guy, I walk up and I said, yo, can you put me just down there around, like, look, there's nobody even here, but just put me around like nobody's around, right? Because I know I'm going to be like standing on the approach with my mom. I'm going to be like helping her, and I don't want anybody really around. And she gets embarrassed too, like she doesn't want people to see her throwing gutters, whatever.
Right. Put me on 39 and 40.
Put me away from everybody. Okay. So I go and I get a lane and we start bowling and we bowl one game and everything's fine, whatever. And then I look up and there's people walking over. They put a pair of open bowlers with like two little kids, and they put a lady who was part of the group on our pair, and the pair right on top of us. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when you go to the bathroom in a public restroom and you go piss in the urinal, and there's 8 urinals empty, and the guy goes and sits right next to you and pisses in the urinal right next to you. Or when you're in a treadmill and there's 15 treadmills to the left of you empty, and the person walks on the treadmill right next to you. Or when you're in a movie theater and someone sits next to you when there's literally the whole theater is empty. That's what it reminded me of. And it was annoying what it was.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Pop Copy. that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Why? Because we can.
Yep. It's like I am the manager B.
Customer.
Yeah, I am the manager B.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's just annoying. I didn't say anything. We bowled 2 games, but that was a quick story. Like I didn't want to like make a look. You have the Boleros, these people, they just don't understand. Like, like separate us. Like, give us a pair or 2 buffer, right? Like, especially when you have an empty house. Don't put a group right on top of me when you have. I should have took a picture. There was literally 15 empty pairs to the right, to the left of us. Anyway, so that was my story. But I did bowl. I do plan on starting to ramp up the bowling a little bit the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm gonna my next just kind of progression is to bowl for an hour straight. And then once I can bowl for an hour straight, I'll maybe sign up for a tournament. I know the Cactus Open from Complete Bowling Events is in the end of June. That's a 10K tournament here in Phoenix. So that would be me jumping in the deep end, but I'm not afraid to do that. So gotta
get in shape. Agent on Open. He wants me to come out and take a vacation in Phoenix. I'll see. I can't bring the fam though. There's no way my wife's coming on a bowling trip, son.
Dude, why don't you? There's a Great White Lodge in Scottsdale. Why don't you put the fam there while you bowl?
What do you think? I'm made of money, son?
Come on, man. You
paying for that? You helping me out with that? You got no kids. Treat my kids.
Yeah, I've seen your parties in your backyard with your pool, man. You could afford it.
That's what I was doing. 3 minutes before we came on the podcast, I was outside working on my yard trying to get things together for this weekend because I'm having people all weekend at the crib. But yeah, we're ready to go.
Bowling DL wants to know what's the story with my hat. Yo, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. It's the bottom line. But
I'll say he's a huge Seinfeld fan. It's a Seinfeld thing. It's huge. Rob is a huge Seinfeld fan. So is Bill, I believe. He's a really big Seinfeld fan as well.
That's all we talk about.
Yeah, they're into the Seinfeld, no doubt. Steph, what up, Steph? Steph says Kroll for Player of the Year. He texted me this yesterday, and I didn't even text him back because that's just a bad take, Steph. That ain't gonna happen.
All right.
I appreciate everything that Boog Kroll has done this year, for sure. But yeah, Player of the Year is just out of reach. I think it was out of reach for everybody, sort of regardless of how this turned out. Even if Bill won, even if Kyle won. So certainly, if that was true for Bill and Kyle, it would be true for Boog too.
Here's the deal with Boog. For us to even have his mention of his name in Player of the Year talks coming out of the PTQ, look, and I know Randy and Phantom mentioned it 150 times on the show yesterday, but it's worth mentioning. The kid won a playoff that was a top 16 in the world to get in off of PTQs is nothing short but amazing and outstanding for this kid, and earned every bit of what he won this year. Good for Boog. Nice kid, seems like a great dude, right? And just so unexpected, right? I mean, when we were talking and doing a PBA PBA preview of 2024, and I would have sat here and said, Mike, Boog Kroll would be top 5 in points.
Right.
You would laugh. You would have laughed at me off the building. 2 titles. Like, you would have laughed me off out of the building.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that, but I definitely would have thought it was a long shot perspective. No question. And Steph, in the chat again is saying EJ is going to win, but Kroll will be on that list. Yeah, no question, no doubt, he deserves to be on that list. But he's just not going to garner enough, anywhere near the votes that EJ Tackett's going to garner by the players that get to vote, the PBA members that get to vote. He deserves to be on the list. I agree wholeheartedly, but yeah, it's just not going to be. This is a great question. I mean, we talked about this in a separate episode, but Kevin in the chat asking, how did he not get picked up in the PBA league? It's egregious. It is. I agree, Kev. It's really a reflection of how. What word do I want to use? It's a reflection of how
dysfunctional.
Gimmicky. Yeah, I like that word. I like dysfunctional. The PBA league is, because if it wasn't that dysfunctional, or it wasn't that gimmicky or exhibition-y, I guess, if I'm going to make up a word, then he would have been picked up, no question, but he wasn't. So, yeah, it really, it really is eye-opening
Politics.
to see something like that. Yeah,
politics. That's the only thing that I could really say. So let's talk about the show. That's a good transition into the show, Mike.
Yeah, I lost money. I only put in 2 bets, one on Bill to win the whole thing and one on Bill game 1 plus the over, and obviously neither of those hit. Yeah, he struggled out of the gate. I think the first shot looked like somewhat of a bad break. I'd have to ask him about the quality of the shot, but
bad break. He went dead through the nose.
410. I don't know. I mean, you don't look at the 410 and think I could have left the 4 or the 10, but I got a little unfortunate and left both.
I could agree with that. Yeah. But...
So, you're right. I mean, I'm sure if we asked him, the answer would be that it wasn't a premium quality shot. Wasn't, what exactly what he was looking for.
Yes. I mean, Speed. I want to pull up Speed Ra's comment. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And just the look on Bill's face, he kind of knew it too. You see that a decent amount on the shows, though. You
didn't read his comment, though. He said Bill switched to the Game Breaker 4 too late.
Yeah. Sorry. I know Bill was thinking that. The problem is we don't see what he's doing in practice, right? So, it is tough to criticize them for starting with the wrong ball. But on the other hand, like, if you were to ask Bill, like, he probably would say, like, yeah, I mean, it was bad strategy. It was bad ball choice. I mean, he talked about it today when you saw the PBA put out that social media post when Bill was talking about his review of his year. And I think Bill was really honest and transparent when he talked through that, which really only Bill knows how to be in a way. Like, he's not really one of those type of who will bullshit you, who'll kind of tell you straight. And he did in that. Yeah, I mean, he just would like to have some of those shows back where he made some bad ball decisions, maybe some playing the lanes wrong. You kind of knew he was dead about 5. I mean, obviously he started out really bad, but you kind of knew he was dead when his urethane was flat tenning in the right lane, and Bugs wasn't. And it's funny because I was telling my mom, who was watching the show with me, I said, Ma, like, watch his ball where it finishes compared to Bugs' ball where it finishes. Bill's ball is finishing on the 8 pin after it hits the pins. I mean, like, where it goes off the lane in the back of the pin, and Bill's ball is leaving by that almost 8, sometimes even further right than the 8 pin. And Bugs' ball was able to not do that and had a better drive through the pins. Boog is really good with that urethane ball. I mean, he is, like, he's very good with it. He's very comfortable with it. And he, made it work for him. Started out really strong. Bill couldn't recover, couldn't carry when he needed to. Could have got back after Boog opened. And I think he was on a double, and then I think he 4-pinned or flat 10'd. And I was like, man, the game's over. He was down 30 at that point, and I was at like 7 or 8 frames. So, look, what a year Bill had, though. Honestly, like, I mean, really was front runner for Player of the Year until the World Series, right? Just great year earnings wise. I think he made it close to almost 200,000 in 5 months. He ain't gonna be complaining about that. Keeping himself relevant, getting a little bit older, but
adding a major title,
hitting a major. Just having a great year for Bill, and he's not going away anytime soon. So he keeps, take care of himself physically, practice a little bit, get some stuff we talked about fixed. Yeah, he'll be still really one of the most consistent players on tour every year, top 10, and it makes shows in contention for a major. So shouts to Bill. So next match, Mike, Boog moves on, right? I had Bill in the over in this match, so I lost that bet. But I did put a separate bet in, which shouts to Steve from RotoWire. We talked about it last week, and I said, you know what? We talked about it, so I'm going to put a bet in. I'm going to bet Boog and I'm going to bet Boog and Jesper on the two-legger.
Right, more with the odds than anything else.
More with the odds. So after Boog beat Bill, I was like, oh, all I need is Jesper to win this match. And then Kyle comes out front 4 or front 5, and I'm like, good Lord, like Jesper's got – it didn't seem like he had a shot to win at this point in the match, no?
Well, first I want to say that we had word that it was going to be a urethane effective show, right?
Right.
So when we heard that, you got to ride with Jesper on that. I feel like if you know that urethane is going to be in play, and I think that probably, if you tell me that Boog and Bill are bowling each other and they're going to be using urethane on at least one lane, I think again that kind of would push me, especially if there's plus odds to bet on the guy with the higher rev rate. But to answer your question, I mean, shocking.
Well, Jesper comes out missing a 7-pin.
This match was like, and listen, some shocking stuff has happened on the PBA Tour this year.
Yeah,
honestly, I really cannot remember the last season that I watched where so many shots elicited a reaction of what just happened. Okay, and this was another example of that. This whole match was another example of that, because you're right, Rob. You have Jesper missing the 7-pin,
which he doesn't do. He's a very good spare shooter. Right? I think Stefan even talked about he might have had the high spare percentage on tour, and I think he's right, because I think they showed that a couple shows ago.
Misses the 7-pin. Okay, Troop comes out just burying shots.
Looks great.
Front 5. Okay, and through five frames, you were really thinking that Jesper has zero chance to win this match.
Zero chance. I was kind of already pissed off because I thought I was losing all my bets.
And then, did Kyle miss the 10-pin first? Was that the first mistake he made?
I believe so. He left the 3-6-10, right? I think, and then he made it and then missed.
Okay, so the 3-6-10 was the first mistake. You're right.
I believe.
Yes, you're right. And he made that. And then he left the 10-pin, he bounced it off his ankle.
Which
right?
That's so hard. Is that harder for a two-hander to do that than a one-hander, considering the two-hander doesn't get really as close to the ankle? I mean, it does, but I don't really ever recall really seeing a two-handed bounce a ball off an ankle.
No, I don't recall that either. But I believe it's possible.
It is, but at that level, you rarely see that happen.
Shocking. I mean, it's shocking. Absolutely shocking to see that. Yeah. And from that point, I don't, I mean, obviously whacking yourself in the ankle with the ball is not ideal when you're in the middle of a match to try and make a final for $75,000. And I don't know if Troop was physically impacted by that, but I will say that he did not execute. He did not execute to the level that he was earlier in the game after that point. And you know what, Rob? didn't recall this. Charlie's right. Troop Big Ford first
Oh
before
shit!
the
Yeah, that's
3-6-10
right.
and the
Okay,
mistake. Yeah.
okay.
So
I'm trying to
that's where
remember.
that's where the first mistake was. Then he got up and struck after the
Right.
Big Four.
Correct.
And then the next set of shots was where he went 3-6-10 and missed the 10 pin. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Charlie, because I knew that he
I forgot about the
gave
big
it back
four.
in some way after Jesper left that 7 pin. I just couldn't recall the order of how that happened. I don't know what to say about this match. I mean, just absolutely shocking. I'd also say that, shout to Jesper, Freddie for the cheddar at the end of this game, like gets up and needs them all to shut him out by a few sticks and gets them. So yeah, not to say that Troop was performing in a way at that point that made you confident about his prospects of being able to get up there and double for the win. But yeah, I mean, Jesper locked it up when he needed to. So Jesper moves on. And now we go to a race to 2 between Jesper and Boog. Right. And
I make a bet. I make a bet on Boog. I take at this point with the big hit on the underdog parlay, I called it. I was up money, and I decided to take my winnings that I was up and pump it on Boog, because Boog was plus 128, and at this point, I'm thinking to myself like, I can't imagine why Boog is an underdog right now. He's beat Bill, he's beat EJ. I mean, he's really had a good run here. And he's bowling great. He loves those patterns. The urethane looks good. I'm like, dude, for plus 128, like to me, that's great odds on Boog at that point. So yeah, I pumped it on Boog. I knew in my heart that if I knew Jesper was going to have a really good look the first game, but I didn't know what his look would be like as the match went to game 2, and that's kind of where I think we could probably jump to. Like Jesper had a really good look the first game, and Boog struggled a little bit. And after the first game, Jesper wins, right? I'm thinking to myself, and I said this to my mom who's watching with me. I said, Mom, like if Jesper starts losing his reaction, he doesn't really recover well when he loses his reaction. We've seen it time in and time out again on the shows, Mike. We've talked about it. When Jesper loses his reaction, he is very hard. It is very hard for him to come back for it. He just can't. He just doesn't have the I don't know what the word is. He just struggles.
Confidence in the other equipment.
Doesn't have the confidence in the
to make the change.
Whatever. There's something that he does and he struggles really mightily with when the urethane stops working. And when he got up on the second frame, I believe, of that game, and he all of a sudden the ball started to labor, right? I think he started leaving some 7 pins, right, Mike?
Yep.
And then he started leaving more. You saw some buckets,
mainly on the left lane, the longer lane.
Which I said,
makes
Mike.
Sense.
Yeah, I said, Mike. Anyway, real quick, just to cut you off here. The Queens is done. They're finished.
Okay.
Jillian Martin 7-10, so she's going to be the 3 seed.
Okay.
Felicia Wong 697, the 4 seed. Lindsay Boomershine 642, the 5th seed. So Jason is the odd woman out. Great show tomorrow, 6 p.m. CBS Sports Central Time. They're in Green Bay. So it'll be defending champ Lindsay and then the OG Kelly. And then you got the 2 U's or 3 U's. Felicia's, she's a youngster too. So Jillian and Hope, the 2 American youth. And then Felicia, I believe, is Canadian. So, and Lindsay and Kelly, the OG American. So yeah, good show tomorrow. If you got a chance to catch it, I will for sure. Since Kelly is bowling, my mom's in love with Kelly. I told my mom Kelly made the show, and I've never seen her so happy. And I think she was more happy than it was on my birthday Sunday that Kelly made the show. Honestly, that's the truth too.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man. getting old. But anyway, all right. So
44 this year.
43. Yo, don't
43.
don't cut me short, bro. Cut me short.
Okay. No, I feel you.
Okay, so we saw what happened, Mike. Jesper loses his reaction. He can't recover. Boog ends up winning. Then they go to a 2-frame roll off, all right? And you got to
Can I just comment on
sure.
Boog's on his mental toughness? I mean, I kind of became a Boog fan during this show, just because of the self talk and the buckling down and the just honestly like the refusal to quit, the refusal to give in. Like he was really scratching and clawing to really, he wanted that second game. He wanted that opportunity to push it to a roll off. And it was awesome as a sports fan to watch him succeed in scratching and clawing his way back into that match and continuing to execute, continuing to stay ahead, and then pushing it to the roll off. And I wasn't watching live, but when I was watching after, I did not know who won. And I'll tell you, Rob, I said, man, if I would have been able to bet this roll off, I would have bet my mortgage next month on Boog Kroll winning this roll off, because Jesper's look was just going away, and you knew he wasn't going to make a drastic change. And what happens? He gets up on the left lane, and he leaves a bucket with a soda. No.
Yeah, it was one of those things that you kind of knew that Boog was going to win the roll off. You had that feeling, unless Boog started making some bad shots. But you talked about Boog. I do have one pet peeve that Boog does on the shows that annoys me. Every time he does it, it annoys me. Whenever he makes a bad shot or something happens, he immediately goes to his ball reps and he starts talking to his ball rep. It reminds me when I was in juniors and you make a bad shot or something would have happened and you would go right to your mom or your dad who was watching and you'd have to explain to them everything that went wrong with the shot. That's my just a pet peeve annoyance of Boog. Like, it seems like every time he does something wrong or something happens, he like runs to his ball rep to like give him the play-by-play on like what happens. And the ball reps are just sitting there going, trying to like help him through it, whatever. And it just kind of annoys me. I don't know. Like, am I wrong now?
I guess I didn't take note of that so much, but
watch next time he makes a show and he makes a bad shot or something happens, he'll go right to his ball rep or he'll look over there and he's just like, oh, he just like to like make the spare, make the, whatever, relax, calm down. But anyway, yeah, I like Boog. That's one of my pet peeves. So Boog gets up, he needs the first strike in attempt to beat Jesper and throws probably the best shot he's thrown under pressure for that much money for a title and wins. Man, that's just what happened.
75K.
Another second title of the year for him. 2 titles, right?
I love it. I mean, they talked a lot about on the show about, his employment situation and working in the bowling center and working the various positions and whatnot. Like, listen, shout to him, bro. Like, that's a grind of a lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like I think a lot of us know what what it's like to work in a bowling center. We spent enough time in one. A lot of us worked in one. I worked in one all through college. So I was a desk guy. I know exactly what it's like. And yeah, it's obviously it's like the furthest thing from glamorous that you could imagine, right? So for a guy who was grinding in that fashion to come out on top and catch a $75,000 payday, which I'm sure is meaningful to him, and I'm sure he can put to really good use, especially a guy who was bowling PTQs all throughout the season. Yeah, it's just an amazing story. You gotta show love for the guy. You gotta give him his props. You have to put him, I would say, in the top 10 to 15 of bowlers in the world at this point after this season.
Oh yeah, I put him in the top 10. He won 2 titles, man, and
all right, but Packy won 2 titles last year, and I'm not so sure he'd be in the top 10 right now.
After he won the 2 titles, he would have been in the top 10 going into this year.
Okay, all right. No, that's fair. That's fair. I just think not top 5.
No,
okay.
no,
Okay.
no, not top 5.
All right, yeah. So I'm
you
probably
could,
a little.
Easily you go. Like EJ, right? Simo, Bill, Belmo,
Right.
Marshall Kent, right? So that's 5 immediately that you can't put Boog in front of right now, right?
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, man, shout to him. Great story.
Yep.
Love to see it.
Yep.
You know, I obviously he'll be out there full time next year. Cool thing is, you know, earn an exemption earns a free entry to every event next year. You know, other than the majors run by the USBC. So, you know, that's great, man. You know, I love to see that not only for Boog, but for all the guys out there that earned an exemption and are going to get that that credit next year. I feel like that's a step in the right direction, and it's something that's nice to see. So.
I'm going to throw this comment out.
Huge season for him.
What do you think of this comment? One of Boog's titles only took 7 games?
Yeah, we've discussed this before with the PBA playoffs, but and you know what? Skin hook roll. I will say that I enjoyed the PBA playoffs way more when it was the race to 2 throughout the whole bracket. Okay, that match between Bill and Rash and Simo and Prather up in Maine, honestly, it might be one of the best PBA shows ever, quite frankly. And that format had a lot to do with that because you're not dead. You lose a game and you're not dead. And these guys, the way they are, they lose the game, they're coming back, charging at you even harder the second game. They're going to figure it out. You know, and you saw a lot of that in the PBA playoffs previous to that. You even saw that, like we commented, in the match with Boog and Jesper. You know, it was an example of that, right? And I liked that format a lot better than the one game format. But the one thing that I'll say in response to your comments, Skid Hook Roll, is that, yeah, you only had to bowl 7 games, but you had to beat the best of the best. I mean, this was only 16 guys. So you're going up against, you know, quality competition in every single one of those games, and it's hard enough to win a 4-game step ladder, let alone a 7-game bracket step ladder, if you want to call it that, because that's in essence what it is. And I don't think that the title's diminished at all.
But couldn't you make an argument that it took more than 7 games to get to be at least eligible to bowl this tournament?
That's my point about the top 16. Right, that's my point about cutting down to the top 16. Like, you're already dealing with elite competition, you know. So what happened all leading up to boiling it down to that elite competition matters a lot, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't look at it that way at all. In fact, Rob, people forget, like the PBA playoffs wasn't a title. And do you want to know who started the conversation that it should be a title? It was us.
I know.
Yep. And the players committee and Tom Clark got together and they retroactively made it a title, you know, after that first year that Prather won it. Right. And we talked a lot about it leading up to them doing that. And, you know, listen, I'm not going to go back on that. I love the PBA playoffs. Personally, I think it should be the premier marquee event for the season because it's I wish they would make the numbers a little bit more easier to track and keep track of and kind of understand.
Well,
but it leads up to something and it features the best of the best.
What do you think? But what do you think if they turned the PBA playoffs into the players and they actually turned it into a major?
I would be okay with that.
Just because of the way you have to be in the top 16 to get into it. Right. So just getting into it is the hardest part of it. In general, anybody will tell you on tour that being in the top 16 is not an easy feat.
Yeah, they kind of took the opposite approach with the changes that they made to the players, though. I feel like, right there, it seemed like their goal was to open it up to more, more people as possible, right? The regional players and holding the regional competitions for that. But I'd be with you, Rob. I wouldn't have any problem with that at all. I like Adam Miller's comment here. I want to bring this up. He says it's confusing. There's the tour finals and this playoffs thing. They're not related. I thought the finals tournament they did the last few years at Angel of the Winds did that race to two. No, that's more of like a round robin, I think, where they bowl each other to decide the step ladder, and then they bowl a step ladder from there. There's two divisions, and one person goes on from each. But what I like about Adam's comment is that with the tour finals and the playoffs thing, it is a little bit confusing. I know they have that time to fill during the summer with, I believe, CBS Sports Network. So that's why they've been doing the tour finals. But I would like to see them. I would like to see the PBA playoffs be one of the marquee events. Whether it's a race to two or even an extended format from that, I like it. I like the competition. I was a little bit disappointed that they made it 75 grand instead of 100 this year. I was disappointed last year when they took it away because they didn't have it last year. So yeah, I enjoyed the action for sure.
Yeah, me too. I really like this tournament. My only issue, I guess, of it was one of the shows was taped, and we couldn't bet on that. And then the other beef I had was more of just them going from Washington to Florida. And I know Kevin in the chat brought up a Boog had to do two bowling centers on opposite sides of the country on top of beating the best bowlers in the world to get to that final match. So I'm sure, like I talked about before on last week's show, if this finished in Washington, I would have been almost 100% sure that nobody was beating Jesper in that building in Angel of the Winds. And I'll remember that next year if Jesper gets there and he's bowling in that building. That is cemented in my memory for betting, to not bet against Jesper in Angel of the Winds.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, we ready to give the people what they want?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. All right, my worst of the week this week comes from the I am a 300, 800 bowler Facebook page.
I got to get in that group.
Be forewarned. My worst of the week goes to Michael Miller. Congratulations, Michael. You won worst of the week. Here's the post. First of all, it's a really annoying graphic of the post. Is like it's a Bitmoji, I guess, of this guy with his hand raised in the air and a megaphone, and then there's like what looks like the Saved by the Bell graphics behind his text with purple text in it. So that got to me from the beginning. But he says, I have 10 300s and 4 800s. I average anywhere from 215 to 235 at different houses. Never practiced a day in my life and don't care to. Do I own 25 bowling balls? Absa blank-lutely. Laughing out loud.
Everything what's wrong in the sport in one post.
Thank you. See, that's why when I wanted to do a bowling podcast and I came up with this idea, that's why I called you, Hoss. That's why you were my first and only phone call, bro. Because I was like, not only do I need somebody who's entertaining and can talk about it but I need somebody who's gonna be honest, bro. That's you.
That's terrible. I mean, there's really no, and you can't really be like that in any other sport, out there.
Jimmy, if you weren't listening earlier, someone brought up Tish Johnson riding into an intro for a PWBA final on a horse. We need you to find that and get that posted to X ASAP. Thank you. Yeah. We appreciate you, bro.
That's hilarious. Yeah, just a really good example of what's wrong with our sport.
Absolutely.
Accomplishments with no practice and thinking you're the greatest bowler ever.
Accomplishments by drilling bowling balls, right? Accomplishments by drilling bowling balls. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. If you made them tough, you would really change perspectives. You really would.
I would go on that page and I would just, every time someone posted something on that group, I would just ask them how many on sport. That would be my
Bro,
question.
if you join that group and you start doing that,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you are going to become enemy number one.
Oh, I like it.
You are going to become enemy number one.
Yeah,
I'm
they don't
warning
like
you,
that
bro. Like
question, huh?
they are so sensitive over there, so sensitive over there, and I get it, but yeah, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that because I had another post that I had screenshotted. Like I read it
Mm-hmm.
quickly, and I just took a quick screenshot of it. And then when I went back and read it a couple more times, seeing if this is going to be my worst of the week, uh, I was like, you know what? No, this ain't worst of the week. This guy actually deserves like best of the week. I like so. This was from the Bowling Science Forum. A guy named Justin Mariano posted this, and he said, "Well, I'm going to be that guy. Anyone have any tips for playing Cheetah 33 that's not right up the gutter? I'm a newish two-hander, just not comfortable standing that far right on a flat pattern. I either
Listen.
pull it left and way over hook, or start flirting too right and dump it in the gutter. I mean, yeah, who hasn't been there? Throwing your thing. Regardless, it's a sports shot league, and we have it for 2 more weeks. Just looking for other ideas on how to play it. 400 rev rate, 17, 18 off the hand, and getting 14 to 15 at the pins with Cheetah. Yes, I know I need to practice playing up the gutter, working on it. That's more of the attitude we need, right? Yeah, I know I need to work on this, and I'm going to go work on it if I want to be successful. So yeah, I just think we need, more challenge in the game, more reason for people to stay invested, more reason for people to practice. The antithesis of that post. So
Gotcha. My worst of the week goes into the Bowling Science Forum. Still, loving that group.
jumping over there.
The gift that keeps on giving. Larry Bennett. I actually did respond to this post. His question was, has anyone had success in getting a response from Walter Ray Williams Jr.? I can understand as to why not, but I was just curious as to what he targeted on the lanes, the arrows, breakpoint pins, or just general area. My response to him was, well, I reached out to Tiger Woods to work on my timing for being a golfer, and I haven't get a response. Like, social media is pretty interesting because everybody thinks that people should get responses from guys like Walter Ray Williams Jr., who probably gets hundreds of messages and emails a week, right? From his website, social media. I mean, it's just crazy. Those guys are, they're bowling greatness. They're bowling celebrities. So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting that it seemed like from his post, it just seemed like entitled, like he was a little bit agitated that he didn't get a response from Walter Ray. It reminds me when you go to a baseball game and you're trying to get an autograph for maybe your kid or something, and they kind of walk by you, and then you're all angry at the celebrity, which happened to me when I was a kid when Amleto Monticelli ignored me. I had a pin and a Sharpie, and I was at one of the tour stops back when I was probably around 7 or 8, and he was one of my favorites, and he didn't sign my autograph, and I just never forgot it. And then eventually I actually saw him, and I told him the story, and he laughed. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you your autograph now." I was like, "Nah, I'm good, man."
Yeah,
But
some people are saying Walter Ray does his own Facebook show and answers questions and stuff.
that's
So
cool. That's
perhaps
good.
if people want to go
Yeah.
check that out, they can.
I mean, but that's the good thing about bowling, though, in general, is that the pros are pretty accessible.
Right.
If you go out of your way, to go to a pro-am or to go to one of these national tour stops, most pros, if not, I'd say 99% of them are very approachable. And I've never seen a pro say no to a picture or an autograph. Now, there's a time and place to do it, Mike. I mean, you shouldn't ask for autographs and pictures when they're in between games and they're walking from pair to pair with their bowling stuff. And probably when they're leaving the lanes and they're going into the paddock, you probably shouldn't. But if you hang out at a bowling tournament for a few days, you're gonna catch a lot of pros like in the settee, in the people areas, at the bar, at the in the area, and you're gonna be able to go up to them and take pictures and get autograph on pins. Yeah, Kevin, I want to pull this up real quick. Randy, he writes, Kevin Hebert writes, Randy on the podcast said one of the problems is that pros are too accessible. You know who had that opinion too a long time ago was Mike Fagan. Mike Fagan said in order for bowling to get to the next level, that pros should be a little bit less accessible to the people than they are now, meaning almost like if you were to go like to a PGA Tour event or a NASCAR event. I'm assuming that if you went to the bar, you wouldn't be able to have a beer standing next to a Rory McIlroy or a Scheffler, who I'm going to use because
you probably can, but you better be a somebody,
right?
You ain't just in bowling. It's like the guy Joe Blow from Tuesday Night League wanders in with his French fries and sits down at the bar next to these guys. So I get it. I don't know. I'd have to think more about it on whether I agree with that or not. But
Charlie says that was also brought up in the early 80s, Rob. Yeah, I mean, that was a different era of bowling. Those guys would hang out at the bar. A lot of the guys would hang out at the bars after the squads were over. And if you were hanging out in the bar, you could probably talk to whoever you wanted to talk to, I'd imagine, back in the 80s. But anyway, it's an interesting topic. I don't want to get too far into it, but there is a ton of sports out there that pros are really hard to access, right? You can't go to a PGA event, or like I said, you can't go to a NBA or a baseball or whatever and have as good a chance to take a picture with one of the pros as you can at a bowling event, really. Sure. You could pay how many hundreds of dollars to bowl pro-ams with these guys?
Right.
You can't do that at other sports. I couldn't pay $100 to, play a round of play one hole with a top golfer, right? It's just how it is. So it's an interesting topic, but that's an off the rails kind of worst of the week.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Let's do it.
Final thoughts, Rob, are that are kind of non-bowling related. Final thoughts are kicking off the summer this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Traditional start of summer. Can't wait. Got company coming this weekend for sure. We're gonna be getting it in. I'm in the process of cleaning things up, putting the final touches on, getting things ready. Kind of sad that the PBA Tour season is definitely closer to over than beginning. I am going to be going to the event in Bethlehem because it's not far from my house, the Tour Finals there. So I'll be checking that out and hopefully can bring the people some content. But I just want to say I've really enjoyed. This is my favorite time of what we do with the podcast. Like since January, when the tour started up until now. This is why one of the things I love about doing the podcast is just, chopping it up over what happened on the bowling shows, So I've really enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun. It goes too quickly. But yeah, we still got the tour finals left, and then we'll kind of be in that dull period. I feel like that's got to change, man. I feel like that's got to change in the future. But final thoughts, Rob?
I'm opposite of that because I like sometimes having a little bit of open air time to talk about other things other than the PBA Tour, because I have so many opinions about like the bowling industry, how to fix it, some of the kind of off the rail topics, maybe more times for interviews with people.
Right.
So I don't mind having a little bit of a little bit more downtime to talk other things, having some maybe off the rail guests. Talking a little bit different type of stuff, I think sometimes keeps my juices flowing on the show instead of just talking PBA action every week. So I'm a little bit on a different path than you on that. But either way, we're still doing it and we're still having fun with it. final thoughts is I was talking to Carl Long yesterday. He called me up, wished me happy birthday, which I appreciated that. We were talking to him about the Agent Ong Open, about how things are going with the tournament, how entries have been, the new things he's doing for the tournament, and we'll have him on to talk about the tournament, what he's doing, because he's doing a lot of new stuff and different things. He's really promoting the tournament. Man, I wish every state had a bowling tournament director / promoter, is what he really is, to promote tournaments, and also investing their own money gives you a whole nother reason to get entries to your tournament. He was talking something interesting about a scholarship that he's giving out to anybody. It doesn't have to be a younger person or a really that is bowling the tournament. So he's giving out the Ong Memorial Scholarship. It's in a tribute to his parents, William and Florence Ong. So it's the William and Florence Ong Memorial Scholarship. It's $1,000 scholarship that he's giving to anybody who wants the scholarship. They just have to go to the website and get the criteria to enter. It's essentially you're answering 3 questions based on like a community impact, what you're doing for the community, diversity, inclusion, and leadership recognition. And you got to type up like a 400 or like 500 word essay, or type and send it into Carl@agentongopen.com. But go to the website, read the criteria, and enter someone who you think might be really good for this. It's $1,000 scholarship, and it's awesome that he's doing that. A lot of bowling tournament promoters would just take the $1,000 and put it into the prize fund, or not even offer anything like this. So it's a really cool thing that he's doing. So I urge whoever's listening, watching, if you know someone who's thinks you'd be good for it, enter them or have them enter or whatever. So we'll talk more Agent Ong. The tournament's in October. Final thought too: the Queens finals is on tomorrow. It's on CBS Sports.
No
Got a
doubt.
live great show. Hope Grammarly, Kelly Kulick, Jillian Martin, Lindsay
Done.
Boomershine.
Sold. You don't have to give me any more.
I know. Lindsay Boomershine.
Actually.
Yep, Felicia Wong. So it's going to be a really, really great show. I look forward to watching the Queens every year. So, that's my final thoughts, Mike.
All right. We're done here, folks. Hit us up on social media. On X, he's Brooklyn Rob 11. I'm at the 215th. Hit us up. That's usually where we're interacting, chopping it up, talking bowling. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps us out a little bit. If you want to talk to us, you got something for us. And I know I say that. I feel like I say this every week. With the PBA season wrapping up, we'll be getting to some emails. Trust me, we'll be looking for content. We want your emails. We'll be looking for some emails. We'll be bringing up emails on the show, topics, ideas, experiences, especially your sport bowling stories. Send me your sport bowling stories. I love to hear those. Continue to email us, sweettherack@gmail. Rob, always fun. Appreciate it, bro. Have a good week, and we will check in with the people and let them know we're going to hit it next.
Later, everybody.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.